This
Hey
conference
there,
will
it's
now be
Julia with
recorded.
Emini Trade, and I'm going to go over a couple things with the NQ today on Divergence, and I'm going to show you a couple trades that I took. One is a breakdown, and going to go over a little bit of that during the workshop, which is Wednesday, July 18th. I still have just a couple openings left, and it's going to start at 1 o'clock, and then it's going to go about an hour, hour and a half, and then we'll do some trading immediately following. And then also I'm going to give whoever signs up a week in my chat room so they can, basically get used to everything that I'm going to go over in the workshop. So if you want more information on the workshop, just go to my site and then you'll see it at the top of the page and it'll say workshop, upcoming workshop.
This conference will
So we're
now
looking
be
at the
recorded.
NQ on a 5-range chart, and you can put it on whatever you like, depending on how fast the market is. That's what's going to dictate what chart I'm trying to get in off of. I'll try a 4-range, a 5-range, an 8-range, a 10-range. If it's really volatile, then I just need to trade off a bigger chart. So this morning, not so volatile off the get-go. I always talk about how I have a zone around the round number on the NQ that I will only do range trades or trade the levels if I'm sure that it's going to hold in that area. So here this morning, right here as it's hitting the top of my no zone area, and I've got 74.05 down to 96 as my no zone. Then I've had the pivot point here from the floor trader pivot, and then the other outline that you see here is a 5-minute opening range. Those will sometimes act as support and resistance as well. But you could see here this morning coming up to that resistance area, and we do have divergence. We have higher highs on price while we have lower highs on the green line on the stochastic. So it's basically a heads up for price to pull back. But at this point, this is our first test of the area of resistance after the open at 9:30. So just a little bit too early for me to take that. But if you're somebody who was willing to give it a shot, you know that the support area is likely going to be that 7,400 round number area. So as it holds 7,400 and retraces back up to resistance here, I can look for a divergence trade. I don't really get one because I have a higher high on price here, just like I do here. So what I mean is, okay, let me just draw a line here. So I have higher highs on price right here compared to here. And if I look at my stochastic, it's doing the same thing. I have a higher high on price, on the stochastic green line here than here. Even if I want to go back and use this last area for the hump, this little hump area here, it's still going to be similar to price. I don't have a higher high here than here. If I did, then I can short it. So nothing I can do here. Same situation here, up to resistance, and I don't get divergence. Now, if you're aggressive, you don't have to wait for divergence. It's totally up to you. If you wait for the divergence between price and whatever indicator you're using, then at least you know that it's probably going to move in the direction you intend, at least for a few bars, or at least to support. Now, both of those would have worked to support of 6,400, whether you waited for divergence or not. But, you just make it part of your plan, and whatever you have as your plan, that's what you're going to stick to. So even though they work out, you don't want to beat yourself up and say, oh, I should have took it anyway. If your plan says you have to have divergence, then you wait. If not, then take it. Okay, here we don't get back up to resistance up here, so I'm not really willing to do anything. So nothing I can really do in this area of resistance holding because I do like to see divergence. I did take a breakdown.
This conference
A
will
little
now be
later.
recorded.
I have this area here that I had been watching, but we had news at 10, so I couldn't really take a breakdown there. I'm going to show you where I did take it, but for my personal rules is that I don't trade 15 minutes before news, so that's just a personal choice. So again, it's whatever you can do based on, your risk tolerance and so forth. If you're okay to trade into news, you could have taken this as a breakdown, and I'll show you why I liked it I did take it a little bit later. It was like 10:15, so I'm going to show you why I took it. And I'll go over a little bit more of that during the workshop as well. Here I do want to point out, again, once again, this is in the area of the no zone and still right before news. So if your plan does not allow you to, trade on news, then you wouldn't be looking at this. But this was in the general area of our edge of our no zone area. Now, I do want to just remind you guys that if you are taking a trade just before a news report comes out, economic report comes out, these areas that you're looking to hold can easily be busted through on the top side or downside. So you definitely want to use caution anytime you're doing any kind of divergence trade into a report coming out. But if you wanted to short this area, like for me, let's say there was no news coming out, I would still, for myself, have to pass on this because this still would be setting up into the edge of my no zone area, and I would literally be getting right in that area here at the edge of the no zone and not really giving me a whole lot of room down to support right here. And this support area at 93 is the floor trader pivot point. That is the only pivot point that I use on the NQ, but you can see it held here, so we have to assume it's going to hold here. So let me just scroll forward so I can show you where I took the breakdown. Let me just pause this so I can scoot ahead here.
This conference
I'm
will
just going to
now
show
be
you all the areas
recorded.
where there was divergence. So here you can see we have higher high in price than here. And if you look at the stochastic green line, you can see that they're basically equal highs. This is actually slightly lower. So that technically is divergence, but we're not pulling off resistance up here at that 5. So not really interested in that, even if there was no news coming out. Down here at support, I've got the 50% fib retracement area. It might be a little hard to see, but those purple dots right here, still news coming out, but you can see on price you have lower low here, then here. Well, on the stochastic you have a higher low here, then here, so that's a heads up for a bounce. It's not really bouncing in a great vicinity because this yellow line right above us here is the close from Friday. So again, you want to make sure you have room to resistance or support if you're going to be buying support, and you want to know where the next area of resistance is. So literally it's right above your head. So basically still sitting on my hands till news. News comes out and we get this area holding up here. And that's right where I'm looking for a short. I don't have divergence, so I pass. Trades up there again. I don't have divergence, so I pass because this is a lower high here than here. And the stochastic's doing the same thing, so nothing for me to do. Here, as it hits that area again, now I've got equal highs here and here, while on my stochastic I have a lower high here than here. So I can go ahead and short that. And I actually was trying to get an order in at 74.04 and it dropped really quickly, so I never even got my order filled. But if I had been filled, I would have been looking at the 7400 as support, and then the area here at the previous day's close if it was able to get through that. So unfortunately, I did not get a fill on that one.
This conference will now be
So
recorded.
just waiting for it to get out of the zone here, the no zone, and then I can look for something. Again, lots of support around. I'm looking actually under this 90.50 for a breakdown, and I'm going to show you why. Here you can see you have divergence to the upside, lower low here, then here. Well, on the stochastic we have a higher low here, then here. So that's anticipating a bounce, but there isn't, in my opinion, enough room to try that because I have resistance right above me at the pivot point at 93. Then I have resistance up there at 96. So as far as I'm concerned, it's not worth my risk to buy it down here because by the time I get in, I would be getting in literally under that 93 and then have to hope that it busts through. So nothing I'm really interested in here. What I'm waiting for is I'm waiting for a breakdown under 90.50. And you can see where I've got my arrow here, and that's right where I entered. So I'm going to show you why I liked it. This is a 15-minute chart, and this is what it looked like at the time that I was looking at that 90.50 area. So I'm just going to put a line here at 90.50 so you can see where I was looking. So here is 90.50 right there. And the reason I was looking for a breakdown there, we could see that price was holding and holding and holding. This is pre-market. But if you look over here at the volume at price, you can see that majority of the volume is all above us. If we look below us at this time, let me just scroll back to the bar that was forming here at that time. Here we go. You can see that we've got this opening from 90.50 down to this area right here at 85. So I'm looking to take a breakdown short because in my mind, the price should be able to be pulled down to this next high volume area right here. So I go ahead and I put an order in. I used actually 2 ticks below that 90.50, so I get filled at 90, and then I'm hoping it gets down to that 85 area. You can see it trades down to 84.50 spot. Now, a lot of times I won't just place a sell order to just sit there under a breakdown area, but I felt pretty confident in taking this trade because of that opening here between the two volume areas, right? From here to here, you can see that hopefully. So I just place the order and I get in. Now, generally how I like to take breakdowns is I wait for price to try to break down. So here you can see it trying to break down through that 90.50 and then it pops right back up. Then I would draw a line under this bar low, and then you could get in under the bar that breaks that bar that failed to go lower. Now, that's a more conservative way, and generally that's how I will do it. But like I said, I felt very confident in this to go lower based on my 15-minute chart. So I was able to get in at 90.50. And then you can see as we're getting through that 85, 84.50 area here, that we're getting divergence. We're getting lower lows on price while we're getting higher lows on the stochastic. So chances are your first target got filled, then you move your stop to a tick or two better than your entry, or you can trail it however you like to. And this divergence here, as it's forming, is a heads up for a bounce. So you actually get divergence right here, and then it bounces. Then you can see it tries to give you another low on price right here, while we still have a higher low. So it's still a heads up for another bounce. And then here, another low, while we still have higher lows on the stochastic right here. So this is a heads up on all of those that price is likely to bounce. And we know we're at support. So now you have to decide, are you going to trail your stop, take your whatever you're holding in your position off, or just let it retrace and stop you out, somewhere wherever you're trailing. Totally up to you. There's no right or wrong way there. Then we get back up to this resistance area. You can see that we get divergence again, but I'm not really wanting to short this area, even though I know I've got resistance above me, because I still have support below me right there. And now we know this 90.50 is a strong support area, right? Because it held, finally broke down. And basically you have to view this as price had a failed breakdown attempt, right? Even though the trade worked out for our breakdown, this retraced and went right back into all of the high volume for the high volume area for the day. So that's a heads up that price is likely going to get stuck there if it trades back there.
This conference will
So
now be
you get the
recorded.
divergence right there. And like I said, I'm not really interested because this is where all the high volume is. And even if you short this, you've got support all around you here. Here's the pivot point again. Here's that 90.50. So no go for me. Then it gets back up. You could see back up to the no zone area. We're at 7,400. Friday's close. So even though there's divergence there, in my mind, there's not enough room for me to try it. So we have higher highs on price here, then here, stochastic, lower high here, then here. So it's a heads up. We're going to get a pullback, but we're at support already. So I'm not willing to take this and then have to pray that I can get through it. To me, there's not enough room for me to risk the trade. So I have to wait for a better area. I get this here. Remember, this is where we took the breakdown back here in this area at 90.50. And I didn't have an entry here. I wasn't willing to take a breakdown, but you could see here, I've got my super trend here overlaid from the 10 range chart. So I actually was willing to take this once price closed below that super trend on the 10 range. And the reason being is that we know that we did break down here earlier, and when looking at the higher time frame after the breakdown, right, we retrace right here. And if you look under that area of that 90-50 again, so we retrace, and we didn't really fill out with any volume. So I felt pretty comfortable in taking that trade again into that same area of support, which would be that 85. And then if it can get through, then, we're looking at, getting through the low of the day. So when this closed below the super trend here on the 10 range, I was very happy to take it, and it worked out just fine. Then as you get down to the area of support here again, you can anticipate a bounce because we have divergence. Doesn't mean that you have to buy it. It's just, hey, heads up, you're short, you're going to get a retracement. So I hope that helps. And I'm going to show you guys how you can use the volume at price during the workshop as well. We'll throw in a little info on breakdowns and breakouts during the workshop. So if you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email, and I will chat with you all later.